welcome to another installment of Just My Hobby. And today, Renee is going to be making these reversible cotton headbands, something simple for you beginners that you'll be able to do. Here's a really cool baseball one. It's going to look really cool on people's heads. So you got this color, and then you can flip it over. And you can tell I'd be looking really sharp in this as we go. And so get ready. We're going to have some fun today. And Just My Hobby. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
All right, everyone, here we go. I'm so glad we're back. I can't believe it's been a whole year since the last video I did, even though I said I was going to do one. But our goal this month is we're going to try to do one every week. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to just show you real quick. This is it close up. So here's one side with the elastic band, and then you can turn it inside out or turn it the other way, and then you can wear it the other way. So this is basically what we're going to make today, and then I'll get to show you what we need for supplies. So first you're going to need 2 different colors or patterns of fabric, which is what I have here. These are fat quarters, which are, I believe, 24 by 18, something like that, which is perfect size to do a headband. So I just picked these 2. I'm also using, again, the lightweight interfacing for both sides. This one is P44F. It's for apparel, so if you want to find that, you can use that or something similar. I've got my rotary cutter, a pair of scissors, a marking pen. I'm not sure if we'll use it, but I always have it handy. This is a 2.5-inch ruler by 18, I believe. And then if you don't have a turning tool, which you're going to need, by the way, all of these supplies will be in the description for you. You can use a safety pin, which will help turn it inside out. So that's what we need to get started.
So how did you choose the fabric? Because I don't see myself using that fabric, but...
This is, well, every time I go shopping, I always find fat quarters, and this was like their summer line at Joann's, and I thought they were really cute, so I just picked them. Also, another reason, just to keep in mind when you're picking fabrics, your headband's only going to be 2.5 inches wide at the widest. So you want to pick something that you know will fit. I don't know if you can see that within there. So if you pick a fabric that's, the print is too big, you won't be able to see it. So that's a good question.
Is that when you use the skinny quarters?
No, I don't think there are skinny quarters, just fat quarters.
It's just fat quarters and skinny quarters, but
yeah.
Then you could use skinny print quarters.
I guess so.
All right.
Okay, so anyway, so if you can see this one also, you can see a lot of the design in this one. So that was a good question. When you're picking your fabrics, make sure it's something that you'll be able to see. Otherwise, you'll just see big parts of a print, and then it won't be as cute. All right, let's go ahead and get started.
All right.
Okay, so I already cut one. I had this one done already. The measurements on these are 2.5 inches wide, and then I believe this is 18.5 inches. And by the way, I forgot to mention that you're going to need some fold over elastic, which is very soft. You can use regular elastic if you want. I just prefer this one, and you can get these in all kinds of colors, so that's just something you need to know.
So you need a little bit more if you have a big head, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you're only going to use about 4 inches of this, so it would be fine.
I see some people with some
no, I think it's going to be okay. All right, so I've already cut the first one. Like I said, this one is 18.5 this way and 2.5 this way. So you're going to need to cut 2 strips. If you want your headband to be the same on both sides, then you would just cut 2 of the same. I'm going to just show you how I cut the fabric. So again, I think I mentioned this was a fat quarter. So this is a 1/4 yard of fabric. It's just cut a little bit differently. So going from here to here is roughly 18 inches. And then this one, I believe, is 24, something like that. All right, so what I'd like to mention first is because you're doing, you're going to do like a tube. I like to cut in strips. I like to cut along the grain, which is where if you can see here, there's the end of the fabric or your selvage. So I like to cut my strips going with the selvage, which I'm going to do right now.
Salvage, is that like
Salvage.
you throw stuff away, or
Well, that's just what they call it, the selvage. It's the end of the bolt or the end of the fabric.
The end of the fabric.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what I do
Instead
is
of just cutting right in the middle.
Yeah, well, here's the difference. If you're pulling it this way, which is where the selvage is, you can see there's no give.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't stretch. If I do it this way, you can see how the fabric stretches. So this is going against the grain. This is going with the grain. So I'm going to cut mine with the grain so that when I'm sewing, I'm not going to get all this movement. Exactly.
Yes,
Right. And so to make it a little bit easier, what I do is I like to just match up. So I know that I'm getting a nice straight cut. I match up the ends where I know it's straight. And then I have a ruler that is exactly 2.5 inches. So I'm just going to use this. I'm not going to include the selvage because that's the weave on that's different. So we don't want to keep, that's just trash. I'm just going to cut that off. So I'll get close to it. Then I'm just going to cut. I'll cut from this side. When you're cutting, I don't know if you have or you have not used long rulers with the rotary cutter, but it can slide around. So I usually, and I keep my fingers out of the way because I like my fingers. I usually keep 1 or 2 fingers on this side so that when I'm pushing, it's not going to slide and then mess up my line. So first I'm going to cut this way. So I've got that part done. Then I turn it around. And now that I know this is a perfectly straight line, I'm going to line this edge up here like that. And then just cut the selvage off. And so now I have another straight 2.5 inch strip.
Nice.
And I'm going to need both of these. And they're exactly the same. And so that will be the first step, is cutting your strips. Okay, the next step is we're going to add the interfacing. I like to just lay this right on top, excuse me, lay this on top and then cut it out exactly where it's supposed to be. Also, again, try to remember there's a stretch. If you go this way, you'll see a stretch. You want to cut the strips where there's no stretch. It's tighter there. So I'm going to cut both of these out, just lining them up. One here. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just lay it on there and then cut your strip. You can like cut this out the same way that I did with the fabric if you want. Oops, the blade has to be up to do it.
Imagine that.
Yeah, so you can do it that way if you want to. Okay, and then I'll do one more. I feel like it matches up better, I don't know, but you can pre-do these. You can cut your strips out and then you'll just have 2 strips of interfacing and 2 strips of fabric. So I'll do another one. Oh. And then there you go. So we'll use this. I could probably get 3, 4 more out of that. All right, so now once you're done with that, then you need to fuse them. So the last video I talked about fusible interfacing. One side is bumpy, which has got the glue on it, and then the other side's smooth. So you want to make sure that you put your glue side to the back of the fabric so that you don't.
I was watching a video, they called the back of the fabric the wrong side.
Yes, so there's the wrong side and the right side. I've heard people call it the pretty side and the ugly side. I guess it just.
I would just call it the back and the front, but
yeah,
that's just me.
Back in the front, yeah. So we're just going to go ahead and quickly, might have to turn this way. Oh, sorry about that. I'll probably just match it to the end. There we go. Just cut this off. So we don't want that glue touching
the iron.
The iron, no. So we're going to just stick it on there like that. And then we're going to press.
And you're not supposed to put another piece of cloth over it so it doesn't seep through.
Use a pressing cloth. I never do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just, you know.
I've seen people do it. Use a pressing cloth, so they just put another piece of cloth over it. I don't do it. Usually I'm in a hurry. And then I'll do the back side too, just to make sure I get a nice, good, it adheres well.
If you accidentally get glue on your iron, how do you get it off?
Oh, God, I don't even want to think about that. I have used just a regular cleaner, and I have used, usually if it's a sticky thing, you can, once it cools off just a little bit, you can use a little bit of oil. Baby oil works. It removes anything that's sticky or glue, you know, gunky or something like that. That's worked for me, but I have not had too much of that problem just because I'm scared that it's going to happen, and then I'm just being very careful.
You didn't cut the edge off.
You are right, I didn't, but I'm watching it. So I'm going to do both of these real good. Now that it's stuck on there, I'll just cut it off.
Just saying.
Just saying. I know you're paying attention. There you go. Okay. So you got a good, there you go. Just do it one more time from the back. When you buy interfacing and stuff, it always comes with instructions on how to.
Who reads instructions?
Well, you know, sometimes.
That's what you're here for.
Sometimes you can maybe hold it down too long, or it doesn't adhere right, and I just say, what does the instructions say? All right, so that's that part. Now that it's all done, here comes the tricky part. Well, I think it's tricky. I don't have a pattern for this. I just use my cutting board to do the measuring. All right, so what I do is I fold it completely in half. Make a crease. All right, so the headband at the ears is 1 inch wide, and as it goes to the top of the head or at the crown of the head is 2 inches wide. So what I do is I cut it from 2 inches, and I go gradually make it down to 1 inch. And the way I do that is I'm going to take off a 1/2 inch on each side. And so I'm going to go from 1/2 inch down to the edge of this. And I'm going to show you what I mean. So I have.
I hope so, because I have no clue.
Yeah. You have. Okay, so you got to line this up on your cutting mat. Hopefully you have a cutting mat. All right, so I've got my lines here, and it's straight. And I know that I can make a mark. I need to cut off a 1/2 inch on this side and a 1/2 inch on this side. So here's my 1/2 inch mark, which is right here. By the way, this is a air erasing pin. It's pretty cool. And then on this side, I'm going to take a 1/2 inch, right? So I'm going to make 2 little marks to take off a 1/2 inch, which is 1 inch. 1/2 inch is what I take off. I don't even know if my math is right. Here's what I do. I line up the edge of here with the edge of that mark. So there's the mark there. And then there's the edge. Okay? Then I'm just going to cut from here to that mark. So I've just tapered it.
Wow. Like the Pythagorean theorem or something.
All right.
All these angles.
Then I'm going to do the same thing here. And it's, as long as it's folded in half exactly, it will come out perfect, because it's going to be exactly the same on their side. So again, I'm going to go from the edge of the top where the 2.5 inches, and I'm going to place it on that mark there to there. Okay, and then I'm just gonna trim that. Instead of drawing a pattern, tracing the pattern, cutting out the pattern, I think this is faster. So it went from this 2.5, there's also going to be a seam allowance in here. So the final one will be 2 inches to 1 inch. But anyhow, that's how I get my taper. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one, doing this without a pattern. Just a couple measurements. Do it again. And we're doing this on the edge that's open, not the fold. Where's my pen?
I can see how important it is to have a cutting board that has measurements.
Yeah. Measurements are important. All right, so again, I'm going to make a mark at the 1/2 inch line, 1/2 inch in and a 1/2 inch in, like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and start at that 1/2 inch mark right there. And then all the way to the edge of this side, make a cut. And then I'll just turn it around because I'm right-handed, so I like to cut on this side. I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with being right-handed, but that's why I flip it around. Okay, and then again, my 1/2 inch mark's here, so I'm going to go from the edge to my 1/2 inch mark on this side. And cut. All right, so this is trash. So now I have both pieces. And there you go.
So your trash is just on the floor?
Nope, I have a I have a wastebasket underneath the table, and I just toss it in there. It doesn't always make it in, but
I know.
okay. All right, let's go to the next step. Okay, the next step is we're going to fold in both of our ends from this side to this side, a 1/2 inch. So the way I like to do it is I use my ruler and I will make a 1 inch line like that. And then I will fold the end up to the 1 inch line, which means I've just made a 1/2 inch fold. So this is one of those tips where, you know, I guess now I kind of eyeball it, but if you're trying to get it to match up, which you're going to need to do to make them go together, this is a really good way to do it. Just draw your line, fold it up, and then I know I've got a 1/2 inch right there. And then you're going to do the same thing with the other one. The only difference with this one is I do one side first. I make my fold. And then I put these together just to make sure that they're going to match up. So, because what we're going to do is we're going to sew these together right sides facing like this. And so I want these to be exactly the same length, right? So since I have this at the bottom, then I know when I fold it, it's going to be right about there. So I've just made them exactly the same.
You iron it?
Yeah. I'm just moving it over so I don't. There we go. So the last one, last one is just making sure that it's exactly right at that same length. Right there.
If somebody has a crooked head, do you make adjustments?
No.
Okay. Just checking.
So here's the thing. When you're making these, most of you probably going to just make them for yourselves or for kids or grandkids or whatever. This pattern is adjustable, so you can get it almost all finished and then just measure it and pull it, and then you'll know, make a mark, and you'll know where to do it. When I do them, I sell them and I do them all the same size. I just give it a range when I list them on how big or small. But I have had people give me feedback on Etsy saying it was a little bit tight or whatever, but everybody's head's not the same. So these will fit most people, but not everybody.
What if you're a pirate and you have one eye?
Well, I don't.
Cut a hole
Yeah,
out?
I don't. Yeah, but these don't go on your face. They go on your head to hold your hair back.
But if you have
Maybe
to put it over the strap.
Maybe you would wear it
patch.
over your eye, yeah, because you wanted it to be a patch. Okay, so we're gonna go to the next step. We're gonna go to the sewing machine and then sew these together. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're going to put these together. So we're gonna sew them down each side, the long sides. So first I'm gonna just clip these real quick. I should have clipped them earlier, but again, we're doing both of the right sides together, matching up the edges, and just doing a quick clip just so they stay together and they don't move while you're sewing. Fabric likes to slide around when you're sewing it, so you can do a 1/4 inch seam allowance on these. I'm using a 2.5 millimeter stitch, and I believe my needle is, again, a universal needle, sharp, size 12, I believe. I'm going to just use the edge of my presser foot when I do this, and I'm also going to back stitch beginning and end when I start and then when I finish. So I'm just going to move forward, and I'm just going to follow this line, following the edge. And if you remember when we were cutting it, we kind of made a point. When I get to that point, I kind of curve around it instead of, you know, making a hard turn. I just kind of curve this way. So I'm still riding along the edge, and just, you know, keep in mind that your fabric is going to move around a little bit. It just does. So holding the edge, just gonna go all the way to the bottom. I'm gonna hold this, make sure that doesn't come undone, and then I'm gonna back stitch real good, and then I cut it. Then I'm just gonna do the same thing on this side, sew down the edge all the way down to the other side. And do this side, back stitch. I'm going all the way down the edge. I'm gonna kind of just curve a little bit so it's not a hard line, a hard turn. Again, and then right till I get to the edge, I'm gonna back stitch just like that, and then that's it for that part. Okay, so the next step is going to be to flip this back right side out. So I'm just going to trim off my little threads wherever they are, on the front and back. And if you can see, I mean, it's almost perfect. The edges are. This one's a little bit off, but again, the fabric slides around when you're sewing. So what you're going to need to do now is, and this is the easiest way that I found to turn these out, if you get a safety pin and you pin it, hopefully you can see this. So I just pin it at the edge, and you want a pretty big one. You're going to take it and you're going to push this inside like this. And then I'm just going to push and pull. So I'm pulling this over that while I'm holding it. Push it more, and then I'm just trying to pull the top fabric as this is being turned in, not inside out because it is inside out, but turn it the right side. So once you get it going, then you can start seeing it, so it gets easier.
That's how you do when your string comes out of your shorts.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Same concept. But and I try, you know, be gentle. Be as gentle as you can, because you don't want the safety pin to make a big hole. So once you got it all turned out, then you take the safety pin out, and then there you go. We're going to go back and we're going to iron all this. Okay, so we're back to the ironing board, or my felt pad, as we're looking at. All right, so the next thing you're going to do is you got to iron this. So I'm going to give you a tip. When you're ironing, when you want your items to look professional, ironing, pressing is really a good tip to make sure you do some good pressing so that you have crisp lines and your stuff looks professional, okay? So if I were to just, you know, pull this out like that and, you know, kind of go like this and iron it just like that, what's going to happen is the insides of this seam are going to fold in and you won't get a nice crisp edge. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to lay this way. This is the trick that I do so that my edges are like perfectly straight. Now, they don't have to be perfectly straight, but mine, I like to be perfectly straight. So what I do is I lay it so that the seam is here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the seam apart so that the two fabrics are laying, you know, they're pulled away from each other. So I do that first and just press it, kind of rolling it really. Rolling the fabric, and yes, you're going to get a seam down the middle, but that's okay. We just want to get this flat. We're flattening out this seam. Okay, so you see how the seam is super flat? So we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're just going to push. We don't want to stretch. We just want that seam to lay nicely. Just like that. And once I do that, once I get them flat, now when I go to actually, ooh, it's very hot too. Ooh, it's hot. Okay, now when I go to press this, if you can see the seams, you can actually see the stitching because now I've made it super flat. And now this is going to lay really nice when I iron it. Okay? Because I just did that like one step. All right, now I'm going to just iron this flat. I want the edges to be same thing here. I want to do our best to get everything nice and flat. We don't want to see one fabric on one side peeking out on the other. We just want it to be. And then I flip it over. You see the lines there that I made? That's okay. They'll go away eventually. Especially if you wash.
Or if you sweat.
Yes, if you sweat, they'll get wet. Throw in the washer. If you don't want it to shrink too much, because this is cotton, you get a little bit of shrinkage, I would not put it in the dryer. Just wash it and lay it flat and let it dry. Okay. So I take one more step. I have some starch that I use just to get it crisp. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it. So I'm just going to spray a little starch on there so I can get it nice and crisp. All right.
I don't think you added the starch as one of your things.
I think you're right. You don't have to have starch. This is just something I like doing. Yeah. But let me show you though. Look at how perfect that is.
Fantastic.
Beautiful. It takes the lines out, smooths it out. There you go. Just makes it nice. Really nice. And that's what you want. You want your stuff to, you know, when you're sewing, you don't want people to think that looks homemade. You know what I mean? When you make stuff, you want them to think that you bought it in the store. Right. So in order to accomplish that, you just got to do a couple little extra steps to make it. Now, some people would leave it like this, but I'm not going to leave it like this. I'm going to top stitch it. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to attach our fold over tape, elastic. I almost forgot that word. Fold over elastic. Usually what I do is I cut about 4 inches. So I'm going to start with that. All right, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all I need. And if you have a bigger head, you might need a little bit more, but it stretches really good. And I picked this little baby blue that matches this. So the next steps will be at the sewing machine. All right. Putting this all together is the last step we're going to do. We're sewing the edges. I'm going to take my 4-inch strip of elastic and I'm going to make a 1/2 inch mark on each side so that I know how far to tuck this in. So just a little one, not too bad. This is going to erase as the air hits it. There we go. I just want a guideline of knowing how far in to put my elastic. All right. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put my elastic inside the tube right up until that mark. So stick it in there and then, center it. Keeps coming out. Okay, so you want it to be centered. Okay, so this is going to be now this edge stitching is going to be about 1/8 inch. So we're just going to top stitch basically all the way around, and as we're top stitching, we're going to add this elastic in. I'm going to put it now at a 3mm stitch length, and then I'm just going to start sewing. So as I'm attaching it, I'm going to get to the edge, I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to just follow the line all the way across. I'm just going to do a nice little top stitch. This also makes the headbands look super professional with the little extra added top stitching on it. I go all the way down, and when I get to the edge, before I get there, I'm going to stop, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring this around. You want to make sure that it doesn't get twisted. I'm going to bring this around, and now I'm going to stick the other end of the elastic right inside here and push it in there until it gets to that line about right there. And then I'm going to continue sewing. Sew to the edge. And I turn it around. When I get to this edge, I like to go back and forth a couple times just to give it some strength. So I'm going to go back and go back forward again. Right, then I'm going to turn it around, and then I'm just going to stitch along the other side all the way around. Keep going. So now I've got this little tube. Okay, I'm getting to the end, and then I'm going to do the same on this side where I started. I'm going to go back over my line and make sure that I give it a good back and forth stitch so that it's secure. All right, so that is actually the end of it. Then I'm going to go ahead and just trim, and you can see there's only, because I started and stopped in the same, there's only one space, but now I've got this cute floral headband, and if I turn it around, I've got the little bees. And that is it, my friends. All right, we're back here. I just wanted to show you a little bit close up so you can take a look at the stitching. You see it looks super professional. You could totally sell these on Etsy. I sell mine for, I think, $9.25. I'd have to go back and look. But this is like one of the top sellers that I have. People love them. Again, you can wear them either way, and I always pick a color that's going to match both sides for the elastic. And also, if you're making this for yourself, I didn't point out, but with the first time that you attach this, as you're sewing around, and when you get to the other side, if you want to, you can stop there and then put it around your head and measure and make sure that, you've got a good fit. But this size that I pick fits most people. So, try it out. Have some fun. I love doing them. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.
Well, there you have it. And what a beautiful headband. I think I'll wear bumblebees on here. So I think I'll just, wear this as we finish here. I think I was holding my hair back beautifully. And just don't forget to like, subscribe, check us out on itsjustmyhobby.com. That's itsjustmyhobby.com. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. Also, if you actually make this, please tag us with your professional looking headband. It's going to be great. So we're going to have more of these videos. In fact, I've told her every single week this month. So have a great day, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon.